All right. Does this work? Okay, cool. We're here. Oh man, I have been flying by the seat of my pants. I mean, everybody's, in our modern day world, it's like everybody's always overwhelmed. Everybody's always busy. But this week has been like a really, really hard week for me. A lot of layers of stuff going on. And yeah, I'm hanging on by a thread, guys. But hopefully I'll make it through. I mean, next week is probably going to be worse, and the week after that's also going to be bad, but we'll get to Thanksgiving somehow. It's at least, everything I'm doing overall in the big picture of things, a lot of fun, and some of it's YouTube related, some of it's a lot of it's also my day job related right now, and then there's some other stuff going on with family and stuff too. So all good stuff in general, a lot to be thankful for. That's what I had my birthday earlier this week, and it was funny because we basically celebrated my birthday a day early because my birthday ended up being I just had work meetings the whole day, and I mean, which is pretty typical. But so it wasn't really beyond that. There was also a number of other reasons why it just wouldn't have been a good day to actually celebrate my birthday on my birthday. It was not a good actual birthday, but it was a great birthday week. Just a lot to be thankful for, but a lot going on right now. So that's why you don't see a Flick Duo video from me. I've had the Flick Duo for about a week. I finally have set it up recently and been started actually playing with it. I have another video coming your way tomorrow about something else, that again was in weeks in the making, just moving along the video assembly line. So, so that's, I just can't do anything last minute right now. Although of course that means Apple is totally going to announce the, new HomePod or Apple TV next week. So we'll see how that all works. But, thank you for the birthday wishes. Edgar, Frederick, nice to see you guys here. I still haven't had a chance to look into why your usernames are coming up here and not your names. Although I opened Ecamm tonight at 8:15, right on the dot for the first time in a week, and it said, you have an update to install. And I'm like, oh, not doing that right now. So I'll get to that. Maybe it's something on their end. But yeah, we have, this is I put new product Q&A because I thought, I answer questions about it. I don't really have many answers at this point, although I do have a lot of things I'm thinking about and talking about with this product. This is the Flick Duo. It's a very cool little button. And also whether you're interested in this or not, we'll get to that in a second, but this has a thing, it's adhesive you can pull off on the back. I cannot on this angle grab this thing. Hold on. There we go. So it's just a magnet. And so this, then it has adhesive to stick to something else. Hopefully that'll focus the camera. I need to put my macro lens or something on this because this is taking forever to focus. There we go. But yeah, so you put that adhesive on something and then you have a magnet here and the magnet attaches here. And there's even, as mentioned at CES and things, I think covered, there's even different settings you can have for when it's on the wall. And one of the other things about Flick that stood out to me in playing with this is, and I'll talk about this more in my video, but I think that Flick has done a lot with their app and their software in the past, year and a half, 2 years. They made it a lot better. So if Flick buttons in general are something that you think it would be cool, but you tried it a while ago and there were a lot of limitations or you didn't really like it or it was buggy or something for you, I would encourage you to reconsider now, maybe dust off what you have in the closet or go buy some now. The Flick Duo, I think, is a really cool device, but Flick also has a lot of other cool, things like their Twist, which I've also played with. This is the Twist I've had for a while. It can be a fun device to control different things in your home. And then also, these are the classic. Whoops, might have some cat hair stuck to the back of this one. This is the classic like flick button. So, you can mount these different places. Like, for example, I have one over here. Whoops. If I tap it, then it turns off my main video light for in here, and then touch it again, and it turns back on. So it could be nice. And that automation there with that flick button is in Apple Home, just controlling a smart plug. But there's a lot of other services it integrates with. And I think Flick is also another cool example of a thing. I know a lot of you guys are kind of advanced smart home users who tune into the live streams. And I find Flick to be one of those brands that really benefits from the interoperability of Matter, meaning that you can add all these different things to Flick through some of their clever implementation. And you can, then, so you have, let's say, a Matter device in Apple Home, then you can turn on pairing mode and then add that Matter device into Flick as well and get some more controls or options or things with that. And so it opens up a lot of possibilities there of ways you could control devices or chain things together in Flick, or, with something like a Homey trigger or an automation or things like that. So, the sky's the limit. And it's also part of why you haven't seen a video from me on that, because I've been working on a number of different videos this week. And also with Flick, because of what I was just mentioning with all of their software layers, there's a lot more there that I felt like I want to get to. But the reason I'm talking about Flick tonight, if you're tuning into the live stream, is, let me pull this up. You should, if you are interested in the Flick Duo. Now, I've shows you how not on the ball I am with things like this. I'm really bad at signing up for all the random affiliate programs that are not Amazon. So I don't have an affiliate link to share with you for a Flick. I do need to go set that up with them, but I haven't done that. But go pre-order their products. So they have the Flick Duo now. And if you want to get the Flick Duo, the best price is now. And it's also the chance to get it by the end of the year. So, I don't know, like, I feel bad saying like, go buy a product when I haven't really like reviewed it, and like really like said my nuances of like why you would want it or why you wouldn't want it. But Shane Watley has a video that came out today. I've not watched that yet, but I'm sure he has some good advice there. But if you saw the Flick Duo and before any of the reviews, you're like, oh, the cool, shiny new tech, I'd love to have that. This is your chance to get, I think, the best price you'll be able to get for a while on it. So something to consider, and they have all these, this is one of the new triggers where you can turn to dim with either of the buttons, as well as then just you have the two different button options. One thing to just kind of get into a little bit of the review, I would have liked for the mount, like you could technically mount it upside down, but it's not really meant to be mounted upside down, if you know what I mean. Because you could see a world where, you might want to have there's the big button and the small button. And you could see a world where you might want to have the big button on the bottom to be off. The big button being off kind of makes more sense. Maybe, I don't know. I could see different people thinking different ways about that. But the proper orientation from the Flick perspective is the big button's always on top. So whatever. It's a cool product. So I just wanted to mention it here. And a video coming from me. I don't know when I'll be able to get it out, but hopefully pretty soon. So, and also in that video talking a little bit more about my new thoughts on Flick, the whole system. And I want to say hi to some folks in the chat. Good to see a bunch of regulars here tuning in. Yes, good evening from Georgia, Jeff. Oh yes, of course, we got the Blue Jays fans. Well, the Cubs aren't playing, so they man, those. Anyways, I don't know enough to really talk too much about baseball, but it was a bummer that they're out. But yes, good for Blue Jays. That's exciting. Oh, wow. It got to 39 last night down in Texas. That's pretty chilly. Yeah. Bill's in rainy Boston. And very cool. Texas. Nice. Got some nice weather around. Still in shorts, of course, Saul. You could probably be in shorts year round. Oh, maybe not Hilton Head. I guess it gets kind of cold in December, but yeah. Anyways, or South Carolina area. I don't know exactly where. But yes, thank you, Bill. It's not a big milestone birthday, so just I'm still in my 30s. Haven't hit the big 40 yet. That'll be some years off, but yeah. It is a good critique of Flick that they do use Bluetooth, and I'm glad you brought that up. Curiosity Cat Cascade. It's it's definitely not a positive. However, I think I found their battery life on their buttons to be pretty good, and I found it to be, in my anecdotal experience, better than a number of Thread buttons that I've used. So I'm not saying that Thread is universally worse for battery life than Bluetooth, because I think that would be a silly statement that's not true. But Flick is, whatever they're doing a good job with the technology they're using, and in this case, it's Bluetooth. So I'm not saying it's perfect, and obviously you do lose some range. If you are considering Flick, I would highly recommend you go with the Flick Hub LR. That's their long-range hub, and that, I think, has some extra stuff to deal with Bluetooth better around a typical home range. So, like, I have my hub for them in the basement in my server closet, and like I can have buttons up on the second floor of my home, and it's not impossible for the signal. So just something to consider. But yeah, I agree. It's important to know, like, it's Bluetooth. Oh, so the Curiosity Cat is saying they do have issues with Bluetooth. So your mileage may vary. For me, I have not seen that. But yes, thank you for all the birthday wishes, Carl, William. Nice to see you guys here. Brian, yes, thank you. Oh yes, Miami, post Miami George is back. Good to see you here, George. Thank you. George sent me some iMessage balloons earlier this week. It was very thoughtful. Yes. Good evening from Tennessee, Rob. Thanks for joining. As I mentioned at the start of the stream, I am hanging on by a thread. This has been a very long week for me on all fronts. Every part of my life is running at full steam, and probably will remain that way for at least another week or two. So we'll see. Talked about Flick. We do have a number of other news stories to get to. Let me go ahead and pull up my live stream topics here and get some of these queued up. I usually do this before the stream, but I did not have a chance. We just had Apple earnings earlier this evening. So that gives us a few anecdotes to talk about that are interesting, I think, as well as Launching in Europe, I think The Verge got a hold of this, is a first look at DJI's new Romo robot vacuum. So it looks very interesting. I mean, I know that the clear is not the only colorway they're making this in, but it is really fascinating to see some of the parts of the vacuum kind of exposed this way. It does, as The Verge noted, look a lot like the Roborock Q Revo series. Yeah, 25,000 Pascal suction is pretty good these days. Pretty competitive with a lot of the newer models from a lot of the major robot vacuum companies you've heard of. This is also another thing you've seen on a number of vacuums these days, especially from like Roborock as well. These dual rollers here. So yeah, I haven't looked too much into the performance of this vacuum yet. It's not available in the US. I think because of the whole DJI and Customs and Border Patrol here in the US, they've had kind of a riff going on around a number of different things, and that's a whole story that I'm probably not qualified to talk about all the details of, because I don't really know much other than what you might have heard also in the news. So yeah, but that's DJI stuff, at least under the DJI brand name, is not really available in the US right now. So especially drones, and I'm guessing robot vacuums as well. So another thing that was a funny point that Mac Rumors pointed out today is that it has been 10 years since Tim Cook got on stage and talked about the future of TV as apps, if you remember that. So that was the redesigned Apple TV with the paddleboard remote. You might remember this remote. This was before they put the white ring on the menu button so that you could remember the orientation of it in the dark, or sort of figure that out in the dark. Yeah, it's a product that needed a lot of evolution, I think, before it really became what it is today. Although it is really interesting to think about the future of TV being apps or not, just because I think it really has come true in a lot of ways, but I don't think it's been in the ways that Apple would have liked. You see companies like Netflix making their own experiences inside of their own apps, and then it's harder for someone using all these apps to remember, oh, what is this show I want to watch? What app is it in? And where do I go? And you even see like my younger, my children who are, my oldest one is 6, and they even remember sometimes with shows they watch. They don't really watch much TV, but like they remember shows they want to watch, what streaming service it's on. So then no matter what adult is working the television to put it on for them, they know what to ask for. And so it's like a whole thing of like, when I was a kid, it was what channel is whatever show on the TV, right? And you might be, audience might be able to relate to that. But yeah, it's I don't think it's an ideal version of content. And Apple's, of course, tried to pull everything back into their TV app, and I don't think that worked out well either. But now it's almost like more confusing, because I think the whole idea that you see stuff in the TV app that isn't related to Apple, that's the thing that I'm surprised they haven't cleaned up in the whole scheme of this rebranding and other stuff. Is just make the TV app nothing about any other streaming service, and just that's your Apple content app, and then you can use other apps to get other streaming services. I think in the modern day world, it's not really ideal the way it's set up now. So we'll see what happens there, but I do think it's interesting to think about that it's been 10 years, since 2015, when Tim Cook announced the beginning of this whole generation of Apple TVs. And in that kind of line of change or evolution. Spotify redesigned their Apple TV app recently, and they have a whole new thing for watching video podcasts. Of course, video podcasts becoming a bigger and bigger thing. Spotify is trying to take a little bit of that from YouTube, although I'm sure if you're watching this on YouTube, YouTube is kind of a place where you get a lot of similar content. So we'll see. We'll see how this all shakes out between YouTube and Spotify, but I thought it was an interesting coincidence that also happened this week. Was Spotify has a new Apple TV app. And the last thing from Tim Cook and Apple really quick is that they confirmed, Tim Cook confirmed on the earnings call that they do plan to add some more AI services to Apple platforms. So right now, of course, you might be familiar with your Talk to Apple's voice assistant. You'll use ChatGPT, or you can ask for ChatGPT in certain requests, and they're going to be adding more partners. So doing integrations with different models like Google Gemini in the future. That was an earlier quote, wasn't that? Okay. Yeah, never mind. No, that was okay. It's late breaking news. I'm learning this as you guys are. But yeah. And, we'll see. The talk of these live streams for the past few weeks now is Apple going to release a HomePod mini or an Apple TV or anything like that anytime soon. So we'll see. I am not 100% sure, but I think it's less likely by the week. But I wouldn't be shocked if it comes out next week or the week after in November. Or, it's not unheard of for Apple to release something in December, but I don't think they would. I think a lot of, especially, I could understand the reasoning if Apple wants to kind of take advantage of the wave of the Black Friday sale timeframe tends to be a big smart home time in general. A lot of people think about the smart home as they're coming back home or spending more time at home for the holidays, and getting, it can be a great thing for gifts, right? For yourself or for someone else. But with that, I think Apple might want to take advantage of that by being released near that holiday. So I could see, just if the engineering timing works out, that they might just release it next week or the week after, but that's all speculation. I have no inside sources, and we'll just have to see what happens. But I'm definitely still on alert of Apple could release some of these products, and you might be wondering if you're into this too, how do you know, or what's the ways to know fast? So everybody has their own methods. Two different things that I always keep an eye on for this is at 8 a.m. in the morning on Central Time, so 9 a.m. Eastern, I'll often just go over to the Apple Newsroom page and see what's on the Apple Newsroom. And the other thing, and I don't think this has changed, I think you're still able to do this, but I don't really use X much at all, but some of the Apple executives do. And one feature of X that I still really value from the Twitter days is being able to get notifications when specific people post. And one of the people I have notifications turned on for is Greg Joswiak from Apple. Now, he doesn't usually post right when the news breaks. Sometimes he does, but I just find if he's posting about something related to Apple, getting a notification that, Greg Joswiak posted on X, I don't have to be checking, that network or any other social network all the time. I just kind of get notified, oh, Greg posted something, maybe I'll go check it out, or just know what he posted. So obviously there's a lot of executives at Apple that keep an eye on, but I just find, given that he's over product marketing, if he's posting something, it could be related to new products. Not always, for sure. But yeah, those are some ways that I keep an eye on. Like, has Apple released a new HomePod or Apple TV? And do I need to go into like red alert mode? But we'll see. So we got some Apple TV fans, the TV app on Apple TV fans, having the one app to see my watch list aside from Netflix. Brian says it'd be nice if they integrated the watch list better on the home screen. That's a good suggestion. I agree. I think having those tiles at the top when you go over the TV app being a watch list could be nice. Or I don't know if widgets per se would make sense on tvOS. Maybe they would. I could kind of see some value in certain widgets, but I think especially if they had an up next queue widget on Apple TV for the TV app. And I could see it not being too hard for them to expand that to developers, right? And letting other developers tune into or use those APIs. Speaking of developers, for those of you who kind of follow Apple in general and the Apple home scene and things like that, but aren't as involved in the technical side of like Apple developer relations or things like that, I've been very impressed with this fall. Apple's been doing a number of things around these developer sessions at their developer center. So in the past, they've done these things where they do these tech talks where they go to different cities around the world and they'd have a handful of presentations about different topics kind of related to WWDC. But of course, the problem Apple's had too is that all the ways they used to communicate with developers in in-person sessions and things just didn't really scale. And you can't have all the developers coming to a worldwide developer conference in June. And I also am pleased to see Apple bringing back with these developer presentations live presenters on stage talking in front of slides. It adds a nice human factor. I can understand the efficiency of their WWDC talks where they have someone, just standing in a studio room somewhere in Apple Park reading a teleprompter and talking about whatever it is for 11 minutes. But at the same time, I think I tuned in a little bit today to their they had some seminars today on app performance and battery life and taking advantage of some of the new things in Swift UI and some of their other APIs to get better performance out of apps. And it was a really cool set of sessions. I wasn't able to watch all of it. I had other meetings and things to go to, but I think it's nice to see Apple doing some more stuff with the developer center and playing with different ideas of how do they work with developers. I know there was a handful of journalists that were also invited with. Apple had a big session in the same kind of way for people making immersive content on Apple Vision Pro and doing a bunch of details around that. I think it was a week or two ago. And another thing that I think is really cool to see and shows some of the commitment I think Apple has for the Apple Vision Pro, even as the rumors suggest, Apple's looking at other projects and stuff. And the last thing really quick, I'm on Apple Vision Pro, that it was like an anecdote I heard earlier this week. I think it was Jason Snell who said this, but one of the things that the M5 Apple Vision Pro reviews have highlighted, and again, I'm very happy with my M2 Vision Pro. I'm not upgrading. I don't think you should if you have one. But if you're kind of casually observing the space, thinking I'd never spend that much money on a headset, which is a very logical thing to say. But regardless, I think the M5 is showing how many things around performance that the M5 can open up that the M2 just couldn't do, and how the Apple Vision Pro is such an early days product within the life cycle of that kind of concept and how we use a computer in an immersive environment on our face. And I think that as Apple Silicon progresses, we might see more of these. Well, Apple just put an M7 in the Vision Pro and didn't really change anything. But because they put an M7, let's say 2 years from now or 3 years from now in a Vision Pro, that actually unlocks a whole bunch of other cool things, where they can drive more frame rate in different areas and make other things more immersive or realistic. So I think there's a lot to still be seen there, even without the hardware changing much and just getting faster processors. So we'll see how that all pans out over time. But just an interesting thought where you could see the argument that, Apple just wanted to move off using the M2 in the Apple Vision Pro because they don't want to keep making the M2 chip. But I think there's also the side of it of like, well, the M5 also brings a whole lot of nice little quality of life improvements to the product, and you can see that happening again and again as more people use it. So I don't know. We'll see. I think the Vision Pro is making more sense to me over time. The more I use it, the more I see like Vision OS 26. It's feeling more like, okay, I can see where this is going. It's definitely not for everyone anytime soon, but it's a cool kind of futuristic product that it's going somewhere. It's not. I don't think it's like one of these things. It's like Apple just tried this as an experiment and it failed and they're done with it. It's just, that's not what it is at all. So rant over on the Apple Vision Pro. Yeah, the Netflix integration would be key, Carl. I agree. That'd be so nice to have that on Apple TV. It's hard to say if that integration is diplomacy, like companies agreeing with each other. I don't think it's technical, because someone, I think in Netflix, shipped that by mistake, I guess you could say, at one point, which was a funny thing about a year ago now. So smart home news, we covered the Flick button. I think we've covered all the big stories. If anybody has any questions in the chat, would love to hear them. If you prefix your comment with the word question, then it just makes it easier to pick it out. Oh, cool. You're getting a Jeep Wrangler 4x4. Nice. 5-speed manual. Sounds like a fun car. Fun vehicle. Nice. Yes, Brian. And I have a video. I've been working on the concept of a video for shortcuts for members. And that is in progress. I don't know when it'll be coming, but sometime hopefully soon. Yeah, so funny story on that, trying to pull together some things to tell you guys. I figured out tonight something that had been nagging me for a while with my smart home, which is randomly at night, particularly, let's say, usually, I get the kids to bed at about 7-ish, and then I'm down here in my office working, if it's not a night where my wife and I have date night, which is a couple nights a week. So if then I'm down here working, and I'll have the lights on, of course, and then all of a sudden the main lights in here would shut off. And I looked around at different automations. I couldn't figure out, there's no sensors or anything tripping that would then trigger that to turn off. And, it's just kind of one of those things in the back of my head for a while, like, what is going on here? Why is this not working? And then tonight, I realized what was going on, because I happened to notice that my wife was going upstairs at that time, and our upstairs hallway lights were on. And then she used what I figured out was like, she entered our bedroom and like used the Pico remote on the wall at the entrance to our bedroom to turn off the upstairs hallway lights, which actually this also leads into a tip. If you're using Lutron switches with Pico remotes, I've seen other people do this too, is that you can put a Pico remote covered by a switch plate at the entrance of any major room, and particularly bedrooms in an upstairs area. So if you have hallway lights, then every room you leave, that, you know, and frequently in upstairs, like around bedrooms or whatever, you might be doing that in the dark more frequently than other parts of your home. But then you can have a quick light switch access at the entrance to any other rooms. And it looks like a light switch that's wired into the wall, even though it's not. And so we have one of those with a paddle Pico remote on the entrance to our bedroom. And of course, that paddle Pico remote, because of what I do, was sent to me by Lutron when the paddle Pico remotes were new. And I paired that at first with the dimmer that's in my office. And then as I moved it up there a while ago to have this kind of setup, I forgot, or something didn't get saved properly or whatever in that, so that it was still also controlling the lights in my office. And so then we don't use that particular light switch nearly as much as just other ways to turn on and off those upstairs hallway lights, different automations or different things. So, well, it's a nice thing to have, and it's a fun way for me to play with smart home tech, right? To put that light switch outside of our bedroom. It took me a while to figure out that was what was causing it. So tonight I realized that, and then I went upstairs and turned on the lights in the upstairs hallway, came back downstairs, my lights in my office were back on, went in the Lutron app, unchecked it and fixed it. And so now that problem is solved, which is really nice. So my lights in my office won't just turn off all of a sudden on me. So that was not an automation, but something I figured out. I've been playing a lot with some automations that you will see in at least one upcoming video. So those will be coming sometime in the coming weeks. So that's been a big focus of my automation stuff recently. Let's see. And so I can't really talk too much about that, but it is related to one of the things that's in there is Aqara's Mars tech. And I think I've talked about this in a previous live stream, where some of their switches, and I mentioned it in my newsletter as well, some of their switches do well with controlling smart lights. So some cool stuff to consider there. And thank you, Saul. Yes, give like and subscribe, give the old thumbs up for the video, or the live stream in this case. It always helps the channel. As I'm trying to keep things growing and moving forward here. And I'm excited about where this all could go with YouTube. We'll see. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I think we got something fun here. I've certainly been having a really fun time this year, just making videos for the channel. A lot of cool projects in the works right now for the next month or two, and already starting to talk. I've already booked travel for CES, and figuring out details for that. So yeah, CES should be another fun time as well. Let's see. Yes, good question, William. So what do I look forward to in the new Apple TV and HomePod? I think the biggest one for the HomePod Mini is an improved chip. So Apple's systems on a chip, they tend to use for their HomePods, kind of reuse the systems on a chip from Apple Watch. And the current chip in there is Wi-Fi 4. So it's a very old version of Wi-Fi. I find the Wi-Fi connection on HomePod Mini to be flaky, especially if it's in an area that's not super close to a Wi-Fi access point, let's say. So, and it can also be, I think, more susceptible because of that to just random other issues with Wi-Fi, regardless of the brand of Wi-Fi that you're using. And so that's something with HomePod that I'm really excited about. I think otherwise, like, I would be fine if that's just a processor bump. I wouldn't be surprised if they also tweak some things with the speaker, make it sound better. Maybe it's a little bit different size. Maybe it's a little bit more expensive. We'll see. It's hard to tell with Apple whether they, at this point, want to keep this being kind of a services-driven product, right? Where it drives Apple Music usage and other stuff, and then they keep the $99 price point, or whether they're going to move it to $129 or something like that. With the Apple TV, the processor is already very powerful there. What I would love to see with Apple TV is a couple different things. One is thread across the line, so that then just like all Apple TVs have thread. And I also think that, and maybe this is part of the delay in actually launching the product, because I think sometimes from what I've heard from reports, I had no inside information on this at all, but I think sometimes there's a reason why when you get a new iPhone, the box just says iPhone, because the actual name they're going to give the iPhone, whatever model, is kept very secret and can sometimes be decided not that long before the actual announcement. And I almost wonder if the same thing could be true with Apple TV, where they might be considering a rebrand of the box to be something that fits HomePod or something else, suggesting something more around the home. Of course, Apple TV is a brand that spans a lot of things now, and I think it could be some nice clarity, because for us to say to our friends and family of like, oh, you want to get an Apple Home, you need to get a HomePod or an Apple TV, like that right there is already kind of confusing. It would be really nice if we just said, you just get a HomePod, go to the Apple store and get a HomePod. Doesn't matter which one that plugs into your TV, one that you put in your kitchen, whatever. It's just a HomePod. And I think that would be really nice. So we'll see there. But those are, I think, the big things I would like to see. Aside from that, I'm sure there's some other nice spec bump updates in terms of video codecs. I think they do support all the major HDR codecs at this point. Perhaps there's maybe some more details around those, like some more advanced Dolby Atmos stuff or some higher frame rate things, maybe. But I think that's all kind of grasping at straws. Of course, people have talked about, Apple TV is going to be Apple's next game console. I don't know. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. Apple hasn't shown a huge ability to succeed in gaming aside from what they have in their app store. So I don't know. We'll see about gaming on Apple TV. It's certainly a thing, and certainly thing people do. But in the scale of Apple, I don't think it's really a hit. But yeah, so that's what I'm excited about and hopeful for. And Modern Day Tech, Eric Modern Day Tech, nice to see you here. Oh, yes. Home changes daily, almost daily. We forget how things are set up. So this is back to what I was talking about earlier with the Lutron lights testing. And it's hard to have a solid smart home for the family. Yes. And, I love Shane. I think he does a lot of great stuff. But I don't really actively listen to his podcast anymore. It's just not really my kind of show, but I think it's great. I love that he's doing it with Caroline and stuff. So just not really something I'm as into, but in the first few episodes I listened to of that show, I did find it funny to just hear their stories of similar things that I've faced of like, oh yeah, these random things don't work, or they're not set up because I set them up one way and then did a video and then tore it down and then set it up a different way for a different thing. So yeah, as much as I like the idea potentially that like myself, Eric Modern Day Tech, Eggers Home Tech, George Langabeer, and Shane and everybody else are like example smart homes that have just amazing setups that you'll love. It's not always the case. There's always stuff changing and always stuff moving, and there's a lot of decisions that have to be made around that. So yeah. Oh, cool. So I was wondering, because Eric sent me a picture of something else, and I was like, are you in New York? Because I thought I recognized that store as a New York store that you sent me a picture of, but maybe I was wrong. But cool. I didn't know you went over to Pepcom New York, Eric. But yeah, I'm sure CES will be fun. Maybe I'll have to go to that Pepcom thing next year. We'll see. And hey, speaking of Shane, how's it going, man? Nice to see you. Great to see you got a Flick Duo video up today. As I mentioned at the start of the stream, I've not had a chance to see that yet, but I'm sure it's a great video. I have my Flick Duo here, and we'll be talking about it on my channel at some point too. Although I'm a little behind right now with lots of parts of life. Yes, this is another. Carl brings up a really good point on HomePods. A stereo rear surround would be really nice, and I think you've seen a lot of. I think Sony might have been the first to pioneer this. AWOL Vision has had something along these lines, although they have a center channel as well. There's a handful of other home theater companies that have made various versions of. You just have 4 speakers in 4 corners, or then 5 by adding a center channel and then a subwoofer. Some kind of configuration like that can make for some really amazing home theater experiences. And I could see Apple, if they upgrade the Wi-Fi chips in these devices, you could have any combination of, let's say, 2 HomePods or 4 HomePods, or 2 HomePods and 2, rear HomePod minis, or different things like that to make for some really cool surround sound stuff. And I'm sure Apple's acoustic engineering teams could figure out some ways to make that just sound really good. And if you think about it, buying 4 HomePods, let's assume the price stays $300, right? That's maybe a big assumption. But if the price stays $300, then $1,200 for a home theater setup, that's like Sonos Arc territory, or Arc Ultra. So like that is just getting you the Sonos soundbar, not the rears or anything else. So I wouldn't, it would be hard to say if Apple could challenge the Arc Ultra in sound quality with 4 HomePods, but I'm sure their smart engineering could kind of make up for things. We'll see. But yes, the creator struggle is real. Yes. And yes, Shane is a saint. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I might have to come over there next time, Eric Modern Day Tech. Although pending if my October next year is as crazy as this, although maybe it won't be next year, we'll see. But this week and next week for me is just like, oh man. Yeah, I think that would have been cool, Brian, if Apple bought Sonos, but it didn't happen. And in some ways, I think there's a lot of aspects of Sonos that are nice to have in the smart home today that we might not have if Sonos had been purchased by Apple. I mean, they've left Beats sort of independent. For example, one of the cool tie-ins with Flick, something like the Flick Duo or the Flick Twist, is just the idea that, you can use these things to control Sonos in various ways. And, it's something that I'm like planning on bringing into my video I'm working on about those products is all the different ways you can control Sonos. And you can, back to our previous discussion of Lutron Pico remotes, you can use a Lutron Pico remote to control your Sonos system. And I love those physical control options. And well, yes, you could use a flick button to trigger a shortcut on your phone to play Apple Music, or trigger a scene in your Apple Home to play Apple Music on your HomePods. Like, it's not impossible to trigger your HomePods with a flick button or something else. I wonder if we'd have all the options that we have for things like Sonos Control, if Apple had bought them. So, yeah, and sometimes AirPlay 2 can be AirPlay 2, which means sometimes it works great, but sometimes it doesn't. And I've seen the same thing, John. So, yeah, we'll see. Oh man. We covered, I think, a lot of the news I wanted to get to. And don't forget, by the way, as I mentioned at the front of the video, if you want to get the best price possible on the Flick Duo, I've been told by Flick, you should order it now. So pre-order it now. So keep that in mind as well. Any other questions? Oh yeah, this is another one. Speaking of actually things that actually do still have an integration in Flick. Back to that. Keep coming back to that theme, but the Harmony series of stuff from Logitech was really good. I loved some of those old Logitech Harmony remotes. I'd set up workflows on those remotes and then trigger them to turn on different things. I think in a certain sense, a lot of people's TV setups, including Apple TV stuff, has simplified a lot since those days. It's not to say everybody's has, but I think the market of people who need a lot of that extra stuff, like controlling an AV receiver, and I think that's gone down. So I can understand why maybe kind of like TiVo, it sort of goes away in terms of the need for it, because everything moves to some kind of streaming, or maybe your cable box, and then you have pretty much that, and the sound can usually be taken care of in self-contained units. You don't need a receiver anymore unless you really have a specialty system you want to build out, which is great, but it's just most people don't. But yeah, I tried the SwitchBot remote last year, and I ended up not really making a video about it. One of the things I was just, I came to the SwitchBot remote having experienced Logitech Harmony and wanting that same kind of workflow where you create these sort of almost like a Apple shortcut where you have, okay, I choose this button on the screen and then it does these actions. And you can sort of get there with SwitchBot, and they probably evolved the software since I've tried it, but it wasn't what I was looking for. Not to say that it wouldn't be what some other people are looking for. Sofa Baton, I've heard, is another good remote. I've not played with one myself, but they don't quite have the same level of smart home tie-ins, particularly with Apple Home. I mean, I guess at the time, Logitech Harmony, there really wasn't Apple Home to talk to much. I remember tying it with Philips Hue. I think it talked to Philips Hue. But yeah, maybe there's some other folks who are Logitech Harmony fans in the chat. But yeah, we had Adobe Max this week. Thank you, Brian, for mentioning that. I have not followed any of the Adobe announcements, just like Shane. I do use Lightroom and Photoshop. I also have Premiere because it's what my editor uses, and sometimes I'll open projects from that, but I generally am still a Final Cut person because I know all the keyboard shortcuts, and I'm so fast with Final Cut that, I don't know, maybe at some point I'll be convinced to, someday in the future when I have more time, if I'm, I don't know, like things change in my life or whatever, then I might I might move to learning more Premiere or Resolve, but right now Final Cut's my jam. Yeah, Adobe Max does look like a cool conference. Oh yes, and Saul is George mentioning to Saul, George is a fan of the Ava remotes, and those are another along the lines of smart home remotes. I've not played with these myself, but yeah, George is a fan. So these are Ava remotes. They certainly look really cool. And again, something that I think these tie into Sonos, right? Which they might not if Apple had bought Sonos. Very cool. Yeah, seeing this makes me want to get these, but I don't think, George, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can just go buy these somewhere. You need to have, like they're saying, like a pro installer. Which I get, like they're playing to that market, but yeah. Built by CDL leaders, yeah. So very much pro installer oriented. Oh, but yes, it does tie into everything. Okay. All right. And another thing to keep in mind, by the way, speaking of prices on Flick, I don't have any deals that come to mind, but I've already seen a number of different companies start to launch their November sales or, holiday sales. So I don't know if it's the same deals that you get later on in the month. We'll see what happens, but I think it's already time, if you're looking for deals on stuff, to keep an eye out because stuff's already getting discounted for different things. Again, I haven't seen like a smart home specific one to call out. Maybe someone does in the chat, but I've seen a handful of other electronic sales or things like other retailers starting to have sales already. So. Oh yes, Saul can give me one. Saul, I only work with products that are sent to me for free. It's part of the creator life. So sorry, that's not going to happen. Sort of kidding, not kidding, but just being sarcastic. But thank you, Saul. That's I'm fine though. I should be good. Oh, cool. You ordered some more filament, Shane. Yeah, I talked about last week. I'm going to do like a short or something on this. I organized after that video posted about my 3D printer, which was last week, about how I've been using Gridfinity and organizing all my drawers. I also started to organize my garage. And if you're into 3D printing, one cool thing you can do with it beyond Gridfinity, which I talked about all in that video, is insert your favorite brand name of power or whatever brand name of power tools that you use. Chances are someone on Bamboo Labs forum has made a bunch of custom things to fit their batteries or other tools and mount them in your garage setup. And, of course, there are a million and one ways to store power tools, but there are some kind of clever ideas. And like I use Ryobi stuff, nothing fancy, but it works for me. And I use some of their 1+ HP line is usually pretty good stuff. And there's some people who made like some nice holders for their batteries. And so I put a bunch of those on the wall on my workbench. And so I have like the batteries all right there. I just grab it, the charger's on the wall. I got the the drills and drivers and stuff all hanging from the shelf above with another 3D printed accessory. So a lot of cool details that you can 3D print there for something like a workbench. I use PETG filament there instead of PLA just because, I don't know, it gets kind of cold here in the winter. I want something that's not going to get too brittle, but hopefully that'll hold up through the winter. We'll see. And then I have also PETG for a bunch of Gridfinity out there as well. So we'll see. But I printed a bunch of boxes for different types of screws, and that's been so satisfying to just like fill up all these boxes with screws. And so then all that's organized, and it's way more space efficient than the dividers I used to have in there that I got from my local hardware store ages ago. And so I'm fitting a lot more in each drawer that I have. So yeah, that was a fun kind of project. A little bit of time last weekend, Sunday afternoon, I spent just like cleaning out some of that and taking some stuff that I'd 3D printed throughout the week because it all takes time, right? And then I just put it all in the workbench outside, and that felt good. So that was another fun project. Oh, cool. Yes. Magnets in the prints. There's a guy, who is the guy on YouTube that does some really cool stuff with 3D printing with magnets. Let me pull up this channel. I can't remember right now. Maybe I'll think of it in a minute and then bring it up. But yes. Yeah, it is kind of one of the downsides of prints is that they are like kind of, especially with PLA, it can kind of feel plasticky. What I like for filament there is PLA matte from Bambu Lab tends to have a pretty good feel to it, I think. The other detail as well is it takes a little bit longer, but if you go into Bambu Studio, and this is all Bambu Lab specific, but I imagine there are similar equivalents for other printers. I'm just not an expert in all that stuff, but you can change the quality level of the print. And so I usually make the quality go to a higher level, or it's sort of like a lower number, but like, a higher level of quality. So it's more precise with stuff. So a lot of stuff I download from like Bambu Lab or other places, it's like set at 0.20 millimeter level quality, and I go down to like 0.16 or even sometimes smaller than that. If I'm printing like a little model toy for my kids, I might go down to like 0.12 or something, like high quality, and that adds hours to the print, but the end result looks a lot better than something you print at the lower quality levels. And I also found, speaking of other filament that's fun, the PETG translucent. I wish I had an example like to grab and show you here. Maybe of course I do. Bummer. Some of my good PETG translucent printing is out in my garage right now, so I can't really go get it. But this is just one example of some cable storage. And if you print these on high quality with the PETG translucent plastic, some of this is not even like the higher quality prints, but it's just a cool material. And it has a nice reflective feel to it. It is plasticky, but it just, when you see this up close, like it doesn't, I can't get the camera to focus, but it doesn't look super like like 3D printed per se, in my opinion. Here's an example of a bigger box that's with that same stuff, and it kind of has a nice sheen to it. But this one, I had a mess up on the print, so like you can see there's like some weird lines there. So this is not a good example of like the best stuff, but it is kind of a cool material and a cool look. So PETG translucent is a fun filament in my experience. Maybe some of you guys have some experience with others too. Okay, cool. Yeah. Try PLA matte, Shane. I think it could work out for you. Oh, cool. Yeah. So John is a real expert, sounds like. Okay, so a 0.16 layer height is pushing it for a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. Interesting. Okay. Got it. So yeah, I usually stick to 0.16, so maybe I will just keep it there. Yeah, something I didn't really, and I need to change my camera back. You guys can't see me. But yeah, so that's, some fun stuff to try. And yes, I do print with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. So, Bamboo Lab also had like some fancy new printer come out recently, and I saw a bunch of videos on it on YouTube, but it's like the P2S. Yeah, but it's beyond what I'm happy with my A1. I'm not getting a new printer, and it's a little bit more than I think I would need any time in the foreseeable future. Famous last words. But yeah, it looks pretty cool having that whole compartment in there. So anyway, so we've been going over an hour now. Man, I was like thinking I'm just going to make this a short stream. I'm exhausted. It's been a long week. I got a long Friday ahead of me. But we got to call it a day now because I got to get to bed. But it's been fun talking with you guys, and I hope you have a good weekend. Have a good, holiday weekend. And yeah, I'll see you on the. That's important. We will not have a live stream next week, so there will be no live stream. Unfortunately, scheduling conflicts. I can't make it work. But the week after, we'll be back. Maybe I'll find a special guest in the meantime for that week. I know I've been doing a bunch of guests lately, so we'll get back on that train. But until then, have a good one. And new video coming tomorrow. It's basically done. So